Alright, Rise Neo with Trispic here, and for the Dead Terrorists, we've got 2 Rattlesnakes, a Drake, a Scimitar, 2 Rooks, a Jaguar, and a Tyrannus.
And Cry Havoc have 2 Chronos, 2 Paladins, a Guardian, 2 Ishkers, and a Vengeance. Match now underway, and one of the Dead Terrorists, Tyrannus, which warped in at 0 with all of the Cry Havoc ships, is now furiously burning away and trying not to absolutely get destroyed, but it doesn't seem to be working as they've caught up with it, and it is falling through shields very quickly. The Cry Havoc Guardian also under fire, the shield's just disappearing. It's now into armor, but most of the damage seems to have slowed down. I assume they've put a hell of a stiff tank on that Guardian, since it's obviously going to be one of the first things to get shot at.
Cry Havoc dropping some medium armor drones as well as some Curator 2s, probably out of those Chronoses, and a whole bunch of Warrior 2s trying to peck off some of the smaller ships at speed.
The Guardian getting some serious rep support from a flight of drones and possibly a local tank. It just repped up a lot of armor in one cycle there. The Dead Terrorist team still throwing a lot of damage at it, but really not making much headway on it, as one of the Dead Terrorists, Jaguar, is now into structure and will be popping momentarily and is down. One of their Rooks also at half shields, still taking damage. Looks like that's the new primary for the Cry Havoc team.
And Cry Havoc using both the Paladins and the Chronoses micro warp driving into range to get right up on and close with the Dead Terrorist team. Now those Rooks are going to need to stay alive because that's the only way they're going to win this for the Dead Terrorists. Both the Chronos and the Paladins suffer from a weaker sensor strength than other ships, especially the Tech 1 hulls that they're based on. And it looks like the Cry Havoc Guardian dropping into a little bit of armor, still repping up Mr. Suffering in his Chronos, dropping down to about 50% armor, repping back up a little bit, but having a little bit of trouble tanking. It looks like there's a lot of damage coming towards him.
And the entire Cry Havoc team has now caught up with the Dead Terrorist position. The Marauders right on top of those Rooks now. Kurt Meyer in a Rook for Dead Terrorists, going through armor and structure very quickly. And one of the Rooks for Dead Terrorists down now. As Mr. Suffering, the Chronos on one of the Chronos on Cry Havoc going into structure now, dropping rather quickly. That'll be going down momentarily. Just repped a tiny bit of armor, but it's not going to be enough as the Chronos goes down. So Cry Havoc now down to 2 Ishkers, a Vengeance, a Guardian, 2 Paladins, and a Chronos versus Dead Terrorists, 2 Rattlesnakes, Rook, Drake, and a Scimitar.
And it looks like Dead Terrorists, knowing how Cry Havoc flies, have gone after Mr. Suffering first, in part because he's known to be a pretty good FC. Now, it looks like these Rattlers are fitting blasters and fitting torpedoes, going for maximum damage. It's basically a Raven, but faction and a whole lot pricier if you've been watching the market recently. Kublai Khan in the Chronos for Cry Havoc already dropping into low armor, taking just massive chunks of armor out with every volley of these torpedoes. He won't last a whole lot longer. This is going to be a pretty intense fight. That Rook Green Tooth for Dead Terrorist sitting about 50% armor, possibly making a difference. Nope, not a difference anymore because he just popped.
Yeah, it's interesting. These the Chronoses don't seem to have much of a tank, which is strange considering they're Marauders and they have a lot of low slots. But yeah, Kublai Khan now into structure. It's slow going. Looks like the Guardian getting some good cycles back on it, and I'm sure he's got a damage control. But he's at half armor now, flames shooting out of the back of the ship, and it looks like Dead Terrorists will be able to bring him down. And there he goes. So that's no more Chronoses for the Cry Havoc team. They're down to a Vengeance, an Ishker, 2 Paladins, another Ishker, and a Guardian versus 2 Rattlesnakes, a Drake, and a Scimitar.
Now, Child of War for the Dead Terrorists started to actually take some shield damage from those Paladins, but it looks like the Scimitar's doing a good job of keeping him repped up. Now, they are webbed, but other than that, the frigates for Cry Havoc kind of non-entities. Malcontempt and his Vengeance streaming around, sitting at, a little bit of armor damage, but nothing much, mostly from drones, it looks like. Joshua Puff from Cry Havoc and one of the Paladins, though, dropping into half armor. The Guardian trying to rep him up, but it just doesn't seem to be doing enough to keep him alive. These Rattlers are doing a lot of damage. I'm really impressed with these Rattlers right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at the Paladin, and it doesn't seem to even be running any armor hardeners, so I think it's a combination of the Rattlesnakes being able to do a lot of DPS with those blasters and torpedoes, combined with just not enough tank on the Paladins, which the Marauders have not been tanked nearly as well as they should be, or I thought they would be.
You know, I had originally called this, I believe, for the Cry Havoc team, but it's looking like Dead Terrace may still pull it off as the Rattler, or not sorry, the Rattler, the Paladin drops, and we're down to one Paladin. This fight may flip here. That last Paladin, even with the support of Azeroth in his Guardians, probably not going to last very long under that onslaught of DPS.
Yeah, I mean, wrapping up that low resist, unresisted armor, not going to help very much, as that Paladin now into armor, the entire Dead Terrace team lighting it up now, dropping through armor, not as quickly as the other ships, but still massive chunks being torn out by the torps and blasters of this Dead Terrace team.
And I do see some neutralizing going on. It looks like both the Rattlers have newts fitted, and the Guardian's trying to pull a little bit of range. I think he's going to attempt to deny them some points. So far, the Guardian has been very much a frontline Guardian, staying in close with the rest of his team to give them, support, plus to probably be in close range of the rep drones. But as soon as Monkey in the Paladin drops now in in half structure, as soon as he drops, those rep drones are going to die pretty quick, and then the Guardian's going to be on his own.
Yeah, Guardian now definitely burning out of the scrum. Cry Havoc now down just to 2 Ishkars, a Vengeance, and a Guardian versus 2 Rattlesnakes, a Drake, and a Scimitar. And that Dead Terrace Scimitar taking a little bit of damage. Looks like the Cry Havoc frigates are chasing it around, but it's being able to tank it pretty well. I'm not sure if it's local tanking or anything. I'm a little too far away to look at it.
And it looks like Bullet Tooth is in a Cavalry Drake. He's micro-warp driving along at about 1,000 meters a second, target painting, and he might even be webbing this Guardian. I'm going to get a better look, because if he is, that man deserves a frickin' medal.
Yes, the Scimitar burning around at about 3 kilometers a second, so it's definitely doing a very good job of avoiding the damage being leveled at. It's still sitting at about 75% shields, as the Cry Havoc Guardian now going into half armor.
Yep, and it does look like Bullet Tooth does have webs on his Drake. Honestly, that man is awesome. He knows how to fit a Drake. That sucker's fast, it's doing a lot of damage, and it's being a really great tactical platform with, the target painter and the webs. He's basically making it so that this Guardian is going to, drop twice as fast with all those painters on it.
Yeah, I mean, given how on the ball the Dead Terrorists' logistics seems to have been this whole match, you really don't need to fit a massive, massive tank in those Drakes. You just need a few hardener mods and a couple of extenders, and then you get mids to play with. And as you can see, you get a micro warp drive, a web, some target painters in there, and the Drake becomes a rather fearsome ship, really.
Well, that, and as we've said before, nobody primaries the Drake. Thank you, T-Days. Looks like the Guardian has finally popped, pretty blue explosion, and now it'll just be a matter of the Dead Terrorists mopping up the last few Cry Havoc assault frigates. Looks like Bullet Tooth already building up speed as he chases after and launches missiles at, is that the Ishkar, or is he going after Malcontempt and the Vengeance?
They're going after Malcontempt and the Vengeance for Cry Havoc. He's got several target painters on him, drones, missiles, a lot of stuff flying towards him. The Rattlesnake's using torps, though, so probably not doing too much, but once that Drake gets in range, once Bullet Tooth gets in good range, you'll start seeing that Vengeance really going down. And as I say that, the heavy missiles start impacting, and Malcontempt in low armor now, still dropping. Once he gets through his structure, probably just a volley or two to take him out. And he's into structure now, and he is gone. Cry Havoc now down to 2 Ishkars versus 2 Rattlesnakes, a Drake, and a Scimitar.
Okay, and it's worth, pointing out that the Rattlesnakes do get the velocity and range bonus to their torpedoes. So those torpedoes are actually able to hit at quite a long range, and with 3 target painters, they may not do full damage, but they're going to do a significant chunk of damage on even these small frigates once those torpedoes get into range and hit.
It's going to be a matter of closing the distance and locking down those frigates for Dead Terrorists now. The two Ishkars for Cry Havoc still pretty far off of the group of dead terrorist ships. Looks like all the ships for dead terrorists now getting up to speed. I'm sure they're going to intend to chase down those Ishkars. No fire coming at them right now, though.
No, it looks like those Ishkars are sitting at about 75 to 100 meters away, all the way across the arena, trying to basically deny a few points. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference. Both teams have a lot of points at this point, and it looks like Dead Terrorists are probably just going to go ahead and move on. Cry Havoc may still be in the tournament after this. They've done enough damage, but I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait for the final numbers. It does look like both of the Cry Havoc Ishkars are tackling the Scimitar for Dead Terrorists right now, trying to at least inflict a little bit of damage before they go down. Zeglis in his Ishkar, about 50% armor right now, with Joder in the Dead Terrorist Scimitar sitting at about 50% shields and repping.
It's very weird. Joder in that Scimitar for Dead Terrorists just burned out to the Ishkars and then immediately got tackled, and the rest of the Dead Terrorist team closing the distance, but very slowly. I'm not entirely sure what they were trying to do there, as that Scimitar now in very low shields. Those Ishkars may actually be able to take him out before any of the real damage from Dead Terrorists gets leveled at them.
Yeah, it looks like the torpedo's hitting now, so it looks like or heavy missiles anyway. It looks like the idea was just to use the Scimitar kind of as bait and get the Ishkars to tackle something, thinking they could get points. As we lose one of the Ishkars, and we're down to just one Ishkar now, with Joder sitting at about 50% armor, repping a little bit of shields, a whole bunch of target painters on Sassy Bomba from Cry Havoc, and he's just... Wow, that's a lot of damage coming in. I think that was the strategy. I think the strategy was to use the Scimitar as bait, get the Ishkars to tackle, thinking they could get some more points, and then use them, once they're orbiting, get in range with the other ships. So Sesibamba sitting about 20% armor, dropping quickly. Joder still holding about 50% armor, still repping.
Yeah, I'd say they took their sweet time putting the damage on those frigates, though. It did look a little hairy for a second, as that last Ishkar for Cry Havoc goes down, and Dead Terrorists come away with the win. And we'll hand it back to Soundwave in the studio.